Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of KSR's basketball film breakdown show, Zoom Action. As always, I'm your co-host, Zack Geoghegan, joined by my other co-host, Brandon Ramsey. Brandon, just how are you feeling after Saturday's fun day down in Atlanta? I don't think you were there, were you?
I was not there,
No.
but I feel great. It is fun feeling like we're pretty good at basketball again.
Mm.
It's fun having a team as constructed. We actually have access to all of our players, which,
Wow.
as a Kentucky fan, is something that we are. It's kind of foreign, honestly. Like I'm like I don't know what to do with all these people. Like we actually get to play the good players in the games, and it's pretty darn fun when that happens. So I'm excited about Kentucky heading into SEC play. I'm excited that we've now got a couple decent wins under our
Mm.
belt, and certainly anxious to see where things go heading into the new year, because I think that BBN has some things to be excited about, and that's what we're going to be talking about here today, I do believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, just a quick refresher. Kentucky beat St. John's, Rick Pitino and St. John's down in Atlanta on Saturday, 78-66. Kentucky was down 7 at halftime, outscored the Johnnies by 19 in the second half, put up 53 points in the second half. Impressive stuff all around there. But I think the two obvious reasons why Kentucky had a second half comeback was, one, Jaylen Low shook off a potential third dislocation of his shoulder, which is now been labeled a shift. It was not a pop, it was a shift. Cam Williams even confirmed that for us in
Some would
today's
say a
press
tweak.
conference.
Could we say tweak?
I think tweak is the or shift is the new tweak.
Shift is the new
But
tweak.
unfortunately, we're talking about body parts instead of game planning there. But yeah, so there was just a shift, and I guess Jaylen told everyone in the halftime locker room that he was going to play. He came out, he was awesome, 13 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds in the second half alone, and then a guy named Jayden Quaintance.
Heard of him.
We keep saying this guy's a potential lottery pick. This guy's a potential top 5 pick. Like, let's just be honest with each other. Like, outside of the Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, AJ DeBansa group, you're probably looking at Jayden Quaintance in that next tier of guys with Caleb Wilson and Koa Pete or whoever else is in that group right now. So looking at it like a legitimate game-changing player. He was great in the second half, finally got some run. Pope got his feet wet in the first half. He played like 4 minutes in that first half, unleashed him in the second half. Just in the second half, he had 8 points, 6 boards, a block. Obviously, in the first half, he had that beautiful turnaround fadeaway that banked off the glass. I don't care if he called it or not. It was awesome to see it go in. So yes, now Kentucky, back-to-back wins now against Indiana and St. John's. So a nice little momentum builder going into the conference play, which is going to begin here at the start of the new year. They got Bellarmine tomorrow first. We'll see, how they deal with the injuries and stuff. Then I don't expect to see Jayden Quaintance or Jaylen Low or even Mo Diabate play more than 20 minutes just because of how kind of fragile they are right now, and he'd rather just take the next 2 weeks to kind of really regroup and rebuild with them. So, but some momentum with Kentucky. And Brandon, I think I've done this already a couple times, but I'm going to do it again. We deserve to pat ourselves on the back for just continuing to relay the importance of having a fully healthy roster and the fact that you just shouldn't give up on this team entirely. Like, yes, it's fine to readjust expectations as the season has gone along, and Jaylen Low's injury is still going to be a game by game thing for probably the rest of the season, so things can always happen then. But with the team that we saw in the second half against St. John's, which was the only half all season long that they've had a fully healthy rotational roster at least, you can see the vision of what Mark Pope was putting together back in the offseason when he was building this roster. So I think the season has, or the ceiling for this season needs to be readjusted a little bit based on the second half. I don't know how high it is or not yet, but it was definitely a great start. And what we're going to focus on today, before I continue to ramble, is mainly stuff that JQ and Jaylen Low did in the second half, and kind of how they were able to spark the offense, spark the defense as well, especially from a JQ standpoint, and how important those two guys are together when you have Jaylen Low running the offense and Jayden Quaintance essentially running the defense. So we're going to start. Brandon, we're going to start. We've got like 4 segments is how I'll say it. We've got 4 segments of this game kind of split up. So we're going to start here with what is going to be, what is it actually written down? One of my favorite plays of the entire game actually is just, we know Jayden Quaintance for his defense, but the guy can go get you a bucket whenever he needs to. And this is kind of a perfect example of it. This was him just calling his number, quite literally saying, hey, come get me the ball, and I'm going to take Zuby Ejiofor, one of the biggest, strongest dudes in all of college basketball. I'm going to take him off the dribble, little crossover, just kind of bully him down low and finish with my right hand here. This was just impressive stuff from a guy who's 6'10" and hasn't played basketball in 9 months and is covering off an ACL injury. Like, we can talk, we'll talk more about the defense and the impact he brings there, but this was just a very fun and almost like when you watch it a couple times, you're like, wait, he was able to cross over that fluidly, like his handles are that good at someone his size. We understand now why this kid just literally carries a basketball everywhere he goes, and it shows. It's just stuff like this. Like this is just a quick, between the legs, quick crossover, 2 shoulders into Zuby, just moves him out of the paint. Like Zuby's 245 pounds, by the way. Just bullies him around and then goes right to the top for an easy right-handed finish. Just a very good example of how JQ can bring a little bit more to the table than the defense, which we will talk about later on. But Brandon, just what did you like about this play?
So Jayden Quaintance is a 6'10", 255-pound 5-man. He is 18 years old. He's being guarded by a preseason All-American, and he is, I believe, to the date at the time, 9 months removed from ACL surgery.
Yes.
Like those are a lot of superlatives to put in there and then watch this happen. Like, honestly, the first thing I thought of when I watched this, we already mentioned his name once, like, this is Caleb Wilson. Like, this is like the type of plays that he makes at North Carolina, and he's been one of the most talked about players in college basketball this season, probably going to be the number 4 pick in the NBA draft. You said it to begin the podcast, like, let's forget top 10. Jayden Quaintance could slide into number 5 real quick, especially because of his age and how, he's a year younger than all these other guys we're talking about, probably in some cases a year and a half to 2 years younger than some of these other guys we're talking about. And he is truly special. And I think that there was a lot of concern, worry, question, even among Big Blue Nation, but I think certainly nationally, of some folks saying like, okay, yeah, I get it, Kentucky fans. You're excited. You're getting your lottery pick back. But what's he going to look like? It's only been 9 months, all this kind of stuff. And quite frankly, I think probably to a man, he probably was better than any of us ever would have imagined for his first time out. Like,
probably, yes.
Yeah, I was pretty high on what he was going to bring to the table quickly and right away.
I didn't think he was going to be crossing over all Americans.
Yeah, I didn't know he was
8 minutes into his debut.
Yeah, I didn't know he was going to be able to play 14 minutes in the second half and get 10 and 8 and be a defensive, just controlling force against St. John's. Like, I wasn't ready for that to be our first Jayden Quaintance experience. Like, I thought it might be, we get an exciting dunk and an exciting block shot against Bellarmine and he plays 7 minutes and we're like, ooh, cool, we have a couple highlights. Not like, oh, shoot, he's like immediately one of the best players in college basketball. Yeah. And that's, like I said, we patted ourselves on the back for some of this and saying, hey, like, let's not really evaluate this team until we can evaluate them at full strength. And now we have one half of basketball, Zach. We have like 20 minutes to go off of this team being full strength, and they kicked the absolute crap out of St. John's in those 20 minutes. So I'm not saying it's going to look like that for every 20 minutes of basketball going forward, but it at least gives you an idea of why we weren't all, but I think some of us were still excited about what this team could become. And right now we at least have a 20-minute sample size of proving us right.
Yeah, and and as the season goes along, like, more tape will be available. Coaches will be able to scheme against JQ better. Like, he'll have his ups and downs. He's not going to do this every single game, but at least offensively, like, I think from a defensive impact standpoint, you can probably expect him to be, an influencer pretty much every time he's out there on the floor. But offensively, we'll kind of see how that goes. But like, just kind of to go back, there might be some people say, hey, it's just a one half sample size with JQ. Is this how he's going to look going? Is like, Jayden Quaintance has been a top 5 potential pick since he was a junior in high school. And, we have all this tape from Arizona Arizona State when he was 17 years old too. So really the only worry was like, would there be any rust? And he proved pretty quickly that there isn't any rust, and he's not even conditioned yet. So he's only been practicing, like really practicing for like a week or two. So once he gets ramped up and gets well conditioned, he's only going to get better. And this is like, this kid he's wired differently too. Like, he's just wired to be the best that he can be. And like, that stuff actually matters and shows up in games like this. Like he even said today in his press conference, he's like, I'm a big game player. Like I want to go out there and just show myself in front of on stages like this. I want to go up against All-Americans and put them in hell like he had Zuby all game long. And we're about to show a clip of him doing the same thing with Bryce Hopkins as well, who's a smaller, a little bit quicker, maybe not even quicker than Jayden Quaintance, if we're being honest. Yes, just all-around great player. So this was just a good breaking off or starting point here with Jayden. And we're going to move along here into our next clip that actually I think references the defense I was just talking about with Jayden. This is like a double play situation thing right here. So we're going to start. I believe we eventually get JQ switched. Well, I think he just does a great job switching as well, dealing with the ball handler at the top here. Yeah, you're going to see Bryce Hopkins come around. JQ switches off of him. Mo Diabate and Zuby get tangled up here, which was just happening all game long. I mean, you could have called, I don't know how many fouls were called in this game, but you could have called 20 more. Like, this was a very physical game, which I thought was fun to watch. Mm-hmm. But then you see JQ just playing great defense, walls Bryce up right there, and then forces Sanan to take a tough contested jump shot there at the top of the key, fadeaway, doesn't go in. And then here's the fun part. This is where we've talked about how does Jaylen Low impact the game. You're watching it right here. And a big shout to Cam Williams for confidently setting himself up, hitting this shot, knocking it down. This was like right in the middle of Kentucky's, I want to say it was a 14-0 run. This might have been like early on or kind of in the middle of it. But this was a huge momentum shifting play. And Brandon, you brought up the Cam Williams part of this and the Jaylen Low part of it, but I wanted to at least give JQ some love here for his switchability and the ability to defend a guy up a position and do a great job of doing it as well. Like to be able to move his feet right here and then just cut off Bryce at the point of like him trying to turn the corner is pretty impressive. Cam does a good enough job of staying with the guy that he's on to force a tough shot at the shot clock. And then there goes Jaylen Low, always has his head up, looking for the shooter. Big three, Kentucky's up 4, and they never lost the lead after this. So, Brandon, there's a lot going on here, but I'm going to start with the JQ stuff, and you do your talking.
This is the defensive impact that we all expected and hoped to see out of him. This is why we spent a lot of time talking about how, you know, Jayden Quaintance might not play enough games necessarily, but like he is a National Defensive Player of the Year type guy. And it's not all just about like the counting stats where you look in the box score and he has a couple block shots, he has a couple steals. He's going to get that sort of stuff, but his impact goes so far beyond that. I know yesterday, Zack, you referenced a stat of St. John's going like 1 for 7 on shots that he was the one, like the primary defender on. And it's possessions like this where like shots don't even occur. Offense doesn't even get initiated because he just kind of walls it off before it can get going. And we're not talking about some just afterthought replacement level player. We're talking about Bryce Hopkins, one of the more versatile forwards in the country, a guy who's been in all conference and all American conversations in the past that he just switches on to like it's nothing, puts his hips into him, completely walls him off from penetration and sends them, you know, just dribbling back out to the perimeter, just shuts down any sort of penetration there beyond what he obviously provides as a rim protector as well. So you're really seeing the versatility of his defensive game. And then as that translates to offense, I think that we all talk about wanting Kentucky to play a little bit faster. I think especially when Jaylen Low's out, because we know the half-court execution is harder to come by without PG1, but also, quite frankly, it's harder to play faster when you don't have Jaylen Low in the game. It just comes more naturally. And I think back to some of these transition possessions where Kentucky didn't execute. There was a play early on where Denzel Aberdeen had Brandon Garrison open and ended up kind of getting blocked and went out of bounds.
I think Ortega had one too.
Yeah, Ortega had one too. I know there was a time where Kentucky was just kind of disjointed in their spacing. Jasper Johnson brought it down. Like Colin Chandler was running to the rim. Malachi Moran was behind him. Brandon Garrison's also like, we had like 3 guys running to the rim, and it just kind of got too congested. And like all of those issues sort of go out the window when Jaylen Low is in the game. He pushes it faster. He puts more pressure on every defender that's getting back, but then also people just kind of naturally find their lanes with him. He slices the floor well, plays with such great vision. And I just think that, you know, it's a scary situation to live in when you're relying on a small, skinny point guard who's wearing a
injured
shoulder brace that like we're relying on this guy to play 30 minutes or else we know we kind of stink because that's what we were playing with before. but like we don't stink when he's in the game. So at least as long as we can keep playing this guy and riding him 25, 30 plus minutes, I'm going to have fun with it while it lasts. And hopefully it lasts throughout an entire season. And the injury gods are maybe on our side a little bit for once if we've paid our necessary penance. But I think this defense to offense clip here is such a perfect encapsulation of what these two guys mean to the team. Like defense gets a heck of a lot easier with Jayden Quaintance in the game. Offense gets a heck of a lot easier with Jaylen Low in the game, and Kentucky is better for having these two guys available. And like I said, you finally got to see the vision of this in the second half for the first time all season. It's literally the first time all season that Coach Pope was able to look down the bench and freely choose who he wanted to play in the games, and the results were pretty darn awesome. So I'm very encouraged by what we saw, not just from those two guys, but also what those two guys do to everybody else around them too. Like it's not a secret that Cam Williams hit a couple of threes when Jaylen Low's in the game. It's not a secret that Otega Oweh had one of his best games for Kentucky this season. Like everybody else now gets to play in roles that they're more comfortable playing because you have two of your three best players back on the court. Because that's like Kentucky wasn't just missing guys. We were missing two of our three best players. You're missing an all-conference level point guard and a lottery pick center. That makes everybody else uncomfortable on your team. It puts you in positions that you're not supposed to be in. And now we're finally getting to see everybody kind of find their role, find their level. And that's exciting on top of even just what these two bring to the table individually.
Yeah, that's an underappreciated part of all this is how having Lowe and Quaintance soak up so much attention is just going to free up pockets of space for Otega Oweh that just weren't there a couple weeks ago, and he was great at getting downhill, getting himself he still took 3 threes, missed them all. Maybe only one of those I would have actually wanted him taking, but he turned down one that we're going to show it later where he turns down a 3 to get himself in the paint, ends with a JQ dunk. Like it does help him. And Otega was also just really locked in defensively as well. Was able to get himself in transition through a few steals, but all of it is just when there's less focus on him, it's going to make it easier for him to get himself going. And then it should ideally, I think it might take Denzel and Colin a little bit to because those are two guards that had to spend a lot of their time playing the 1 or spent all summer playing the 2. And then for the first 2 months of the season had to play the 1. And then now they're going to go back into playing the 2. I think that's a lot of adjusting for them. So it might take them a little bit to kind of get back into the feel of being a 2 and being able to play alongside Jaylen Low. But we'll see how that plays out. Colin and Denzel. Well, Denzel played a little bit in that second half, and Colin actually, when I was rewatching, did play some good solid minutes defensively down the stretch in the second half there. But they didn't play as much. It was more in favor of Cam Williams and JQ, and then it was Lowe and Mo and Otega really were the guys that really helped push them along, and Cam as well. I don't know if I mentioned Cam there, but. And back and another point about the JQ stat you mentioned. So he was 1 for 7, or the opponents were 1 for 7 shooting against him. And the one make was where I think it was either Malachi or Colin threw a bad pass that went into the other side of the floor, and Jayden Quaintance was trying to LeBron James chase down block the guy and damn near got it. So that was the one make. So technically, if you take that one away, he was 0 for,
out.
They were 0 for 6.
Whatever stat that is a bad stat.
Yeah, they were 0 for 6. When JQ was the guy with the hand in their face. So just impossible to guard. And then shout out to Cam Williams. I'll throw it back up here again. The kid's obviously been struggling shooting his threes. 21% coming in this game. He was 41% last year. Was 2 for 5 in this game. But he talked during the press conference today. I asked him, what do you think was going wrong? What was the issue? And he just said, I was just rushing. He's I was just rushing my shots too much. I think you could tell that. Early on, especially there were some games that felt like he purposely would shuffle his feet or maybe take a step back. I think he was trying to move too fast to get himself into a position. Whereas with this shot, I feel this is just very free flowing. Catch, get into your windup, let it go. And at one point he's I'm 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan. They're not going to block my shot. Jayden Quaintance is probably the only guy on Kentucky's team that could block a Cam Williams 3-pointer, in a game setting. And there's not many Jayden Quaintances in the country. So, and even here, this is almost a contested 3, but Cam took his time, got into his rhythm, easy catch and shoot, boom, goes right in. So, and I believe
I think part of that there too is in transition when you're running to your spot, like you don't necessarily have time to think about it. Like this is
That's
one
true.
where this is all natural reaction. This is him having hundreds of thousands of shots in the gym over the course of his decade plus playing career. So yeah, it's those ones when he shoots them 7 feet over the freaking rim, when he's behind the left arc and he shoots it like into the right block. Those are the ones where he's sitting there with a bunch of time to think about it, and he's
Yeah.
making sure my hands and feet are ready, and he's really winding into it. And I think that's where you do, as odd as it sounds, it's almost easier to rush yourself when you have more time.
Yeah.
When you have less time, you don't have time to think about rushing it. You just let your skill and your instinct and being a great basketball player, you just let that take over, and that's when he drills two relatively tough transition threes. It's and hopefully that just builds that confidence for him. Like you said, when he says some of these things, it's like, hey, maybe now it's clicking that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm at Kentucky now. It's different than being at Tulane, but open threes are open threes. It doesn't matter who else is on the court. I'm going to trust myself. I know I'm a great shooter. I'm just going to trust my mechanics. Let that thing fly. Shoot them all, Cam, and watch the percentages go up.
Yeah, I think probably a better way to put it is he's rushing to get to the perfect spot when he should, like you're saying, he should just let it go where he's
shooter,
at.
man.
Like just you made 63s or whatever it was last season at Tulane. Like we know you can shoot the ball. Just get yourself into your position and let it go. And he was great doing that. Like he had a miss or a couple misses that like you feel will go in as the game goes or as the season goes along here. So. All right, we're going to move along here into our third segment. This is another, I believe this is a two-play, where are we going? Yeah, this came through. Okay, yeah. This is going to be another two-play bit here. More good Jaylen Low stuff, I think. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once here. Let's see. Boom.
Producing on the fly, baby.
Producing on the fly. All right, yeah, so I'm going to have to let this play here to kind of see where we're at. This is Jaylen Low manipulating the defense to the point where it looks like he's just playing mind games with him. And like a little two-man game stuff here with JQ. Like JQ's a smart basketball player, so he's someone you want to like just rescreens. Woo-hoo! Fake pass to Cam Williams, wide open to Colin Chandler. He does miss this shot. And this is actually just a one-play clip as well. But a lot of good stuff here. I really like the two-man action with JQ. JQ has a really quick ability to just, and all the bigs I feel like do a generally good job of this, of being able to rescreen fast and kind of doing it on the fly. But Jayden is quick enough to be able to keep up with Jaylen Low, just kind of sprinting back and forth, like literally has Ruben Prey on the ground there at one point. And then this pass right here is just nasty, where he's going and wiggling himself into the paint here, goes back around. The defender thinks that he's going to Cam Williams right there on that three. And I think everyone in the building probably thought similar as well. And then fires it to Colin Chandler, who does not get this three to fall, but was still just a really great play. And the ball goes out. It was still Kentucky's ball. So they might end up scoring on this play. I kind of forget. But Brandon, awesome stuff. I think you picked this one out in particular. So what did you like about this one?
PG1 being PG1. This is the penetration that Kentucky simply does not have with him not in the game. And again, like you want to sit there in that first half, and it's really easy. And I get it. It's not anybody's fault. Like we want to watch Kentucky succeed. We want to watch offense look like this. Nobody wants to watch what we watched in the first half. It's no fun. It stinks. Yeah. But quite simply, I mean, we can talk about the roster construction. We can say we should have had a backup point guard. We can say all these different things. Guess what? We don't. This is what we have. When Jaylen Low's in the game, offense looks like this. When Jaylen Low's not in the game, offense is just more difficult. Like there's nothing that Kentucky's going to do this season, save from adding somebody at the semester, which I don't think is probably going to happen.
We'll briefly talk about that later.
Okay, that like with the current roster, that's just the way it's going to be. We're going to have 30 minutes of pretty fun offense, and we're going to have 10 minutes of really having to grind it out when you're resting him, because nobody else is getting paint touches like this. Nobody else is manipulating ball screens like this. Nobody else is drawing help, getting to the paint the way he does. I mean, just snaking this back in there. He generates so many eyeballs on him when he drives it. And like when Denzel Aberdeen tries it, good things can happen sometimes, but he's not drawing 8 to 10 eyeballs on every drive. Otega Oweh, sometimes he can get to the basket and something good happens, or he can get fouled, whatever it is, but he doesn't have 8 to 10 eyeballs on him. Colin Chandler, same thing. Jasper Johnson, same thing. But like Jaylen Low, it takes all 5 defenders kind of working in concert to make sure that they are trying to contain him off of the dribble, contain a cutter, contain an open shooter, because you know that he's dynamic enough to make whatever read it is. I think, and something I talked about on Twitter was that some of these other guys for Kentucky, it's not that Denzel Green stinks off the dribble. It's not that Otega always stinks off the dribble. They just, their game and their mind, quite frankly, is much more kind of one track where it's, I'm going and I kind of need to score it because I don't have the ability from a live dribble to like be going in here as hard as I can with a defender and then also read everything that's happening around me, process it, and make the play. We saw it throughout the second half. Jaylen Low can process it all and score it. He can process it all and pass it. He can do all of that while dribbling around and snaking around, doing all this kind of stuff. And he's just the only guy in Kentucky that can do that. And that's why he recruited him. That's why it was such a big deal to get him healthy and get him back. And yeah, obviously Colin Chandler misses this shot, but that's not the point. Just creating this shot is the point, because these shots weren't being created without Jaylen Low in the game. And I think that over time, you will see. Now, is this going to become last year's Kentucky team from a shooting standpoint? No. Are they even going to be a good three-point shooting team this year? Maybe not. Do I think they're going to shoot better than 31.8% when we sit down with the final stat sheet in March? Yeah, I think so.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. But I do think so, and I think it's going to be because you're going to have more shots like this clip with Jaylen Low playing in the games. And also, like we just showed, those transition threes. Like, those transition threes have been high percentage for Kentucky this season. They just haven't gotten enough of them because you haven't had your point guard. Those are going to come. This shot's going to come, and that will help. It's still the same shooters, but those same shooters will be better because of Low being in the game.
Yeah, and I'll add a few notes to it as well. You were talking about the eyes. There's 10 eyes on Jaylen Low right now when he's getting this paint touch. Every single St. John's player is looking at him. You've got Colin Chandler literally kind of indicating to Low in the corner, saying, hey, Cam's going to be open. Like, look at him up there. So Jaylen snakes his way up there, draws the defender up, and then is able to hit Colin for the three. But I remember when we were talking to Cam earlier today for the press conference, we were asked about this play in particular, and he said that he thought that he was going to get the ball. He was surprised when the ball went to Colin Chandler because he didn't think that Jaylen Low knew that Colin was in the corner there. So Jaylen Low's craftiness is even surprising his own teammates. And honestly, I mean, he could easily probably pass this to Cam, and that's going to be more of a contested three, but Cam's probably still going to take that. But he passes up a good three to a 40%, well, last year 40%, to a guy that's currently shooting 40%, who's kind of been in a little bit of a lull, but he's a streaky guy, so I do feel like Colin Chandler's going to come back around with his shot. But yes, this was a fun play to talk about. And Brandon, while we're just talking about Jaylen Low and the point guard situation, we'll just go ahead and quickly, before we go into our last segment, we'll touch on the idea of adding a transfer portal, whatever it is, whether it's international or a transfer portal guy, point guard to the backcourt. Like, so I'll just give my quick thoughts on it. I guess my questions would be is, who are you going to get? Would be the main thing. Like, what's the market? How many are there really? Is there a guy out there good enough to take on a potential backup role? I mean, like I said, Jaylen Low's on a game-by-game basis, but I mean, if the kid plays every game the rest of the season, then you have no reason to go get another point guard, in my opinion. Really, you only want to get one if God forbid something bad happens to him against Bellarmine, and then you lose him for a while, and you have to go out there and grab somebody. So that would be my first question: is who's the guy that you're going to get? Who's going to be willing to come in and kind of play this game of musical chairs where you don't know which role you're going to be filling, which hat you're going to be wearing? Is it going to be a starter? Are you going to be a reserve? Are you not going to play at all? The money aspect of it. I don't know how NIL contracts work for midseason transfers. So are you going to get a guy that's even good enough to do all this stuff? Is that a better option as bringing in someone brand new who doesn't know the system, as opposed to just try and force feeding it a little bit more? Maybe that's not the right term to use, but maybe you have a better term for me, Brandon. But give Jasper Johnson those minutes, and just because he's a guy that has like he can do stuff that Denzel and Colin can't in terms of handling the ball, getting himself into the paint. Do you just try and force him to get acclimated and kind of have him play through mistakes, which are obviously going to happen, have him play through mistakes and just see if you can get to February or March, and then Jasper Johnson is good enough to where you can trust him to play 10 minutes a game as the point guard, or maybe even more depending on what happens with Lowe's shoulder. So it is kind of just there's a lot of what ifs that just you don't know the answer to right now. That's going to make it hard to go out and add a guy or a potential, other point guard, whoever it may be. So that's why I would lean against it not happening. That's not like scoop or anything. I don't really know. That would be like a Jack Pilgrim question. He might know better than I. But Brandon, what would just be your general thoughts and reactions to everything I just said about a potential adding a potential point guard midseason?
Yeah, it's really, really tough because, I mean, you look at it from this standpoint.
We've never seen this. This is unprecedented, by the way.
Right. It is. And I mean,
outside of like Hamidou Diallo.
That was different. December 22nd, as we're recording this. When's this guy going to show up on campus? Like, what, the earliest he would show up, like when they come back from Christmas? Like, he'd show up on the 26th, the 27th. Like, even if we picked the guy today, he's showing up on the 27th. Well, your next game's Alabama, and then you're in the SEC schedule. Like, at what point are you going to throw this guy into the mix? And then, secondly, and I said this to you via text today. I mean, the thing with the point guard situation is that if Jaylen Low gets hurt, we're screwed regardless. Like, unless somehow you find like this Italian point guard from, the Series A league that is going to be a first round draft pick, like, unless somehow you convince that guy to come and play 10 minutes a game, like, to me, you're adding somebody for those 10 minutes a game to improve those because you think that having a true backup point guard would be better than having Jasper Johnson or having Denzel Aberdeen or whoever handle the ball. Like, to me, it's not about insurance to Jaylen Low, because if Jaylen Low gets hurt, all of the real, like, everything we're actually playing for is going to go out the window anyway. So I just don't think it's, I mean, I don't want to say it's not necessary because I do wish we had a backup point guard already. But I just think that at this point, I'm not sure it's going down. I'm getting distracted, Jack. I think our stream might have got screwed up.
Did it really?
We're getting told that it was suspended due to policy violations. So just FYI, if you want to do some more producing on the fly.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what to
do for that. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah. Somebody said UK cut the stream. It looks like, like it's saying we're live, but it says stream unavailable.
Huh.
On YouTube. Well, there are pictures up.
Oh, I see us back on here right now.
Oh, all right. Well, let's just keep going. Yeah. Yeah, we're there.
Let's see. Let me post something here. Gosh, that would be a big old bummer, wouldn't it?
Can anyone see us?
Welcome back, says Holly.
Welcome back. All right. Hey, Holly.
Okay. Hey, Holly, tell us, what were we last saying before it cut out? Can you let us know?
Probably something awesome.
Yeah. Okay, everyone says we're back. Yeah, if everyone can let us know whatever we were just rambling about, we'll go back to wherever that was. Hopefully it didn't cut off all that stuff. It sounds like it was just at the very end there.
Yeah, I think it was just a couple minutes there.
Research those policies, KSR. It's brand new stuff every time. You never know what's actually going on. So.
Well, it's also funny. Like, we didn't do anything differently than we've done for the last 15 episodes of this.
Yeah, it doesn't have. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So
mid-season trade. Okay, so it's at some point in there, but I think we kind of covered it. So hopefully it didn't cut off too much there. Brandon, you were talking. So if you have more to say about Jasper,
I would just recap. Like, I think we're both of the opinion that, like, sure, we kind of wish we already maybe had a backup point guard, but I don't think that at this point it's going to be overly valuable. And it's so unlikely that the person that you would add at this point is really going to be a needle mover. So I just think that kind of disrupting the apple cart probably just isn't even worth it at this point. Like, sure, should you do your due diligence and kind of turn over every stone and make sure there's not the perfect situation out there? By all means, since these things are available to you now, like, this used to not be something you would even talk about. But yeah, I think that, a little bit more Jasper Johnson in that role to at least see if he can develop into that player as a freshman. And then otherwise, I mean, you're leaning on, like, I don't think it's the worst thing. Yeah. Has the outcomes been great? Not necessarily, but is the worst thing in the world relying on Denzel Aberdeen, who won a national championship last year, to kind of just hold the fort down for those 10 or so minutes a game that Jaylen Low doesn't play? Like, to me, that's not exactly a bad situation to be in. That's something I said before, even going into the season, was like, it's easy to talk about, I wish we had a backup point guard, but like, what are the odds that the backup point guard would have been better than Denzel Aberdeen? Like,
Right.
I just don't know if that's super
Low.
realistic in the NIL era where people want to go play and get paid and these different things. So I just think that it's something that sounds a lot better in theory, admittedly, than it probably gets executed in terms of actually following through on it. So I'd be surprised if it happens, and quite frankly, it'd be something, again, I would turn over every stone, but I would probably end up just moving on.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually be shocked if UK isn't like kicking the tires on it, like if Pope's not searching around looking. But like, the reality probably is you're not going to find anyone that's more purely talented than somewhere like Jasper Johnson. You're not going to find anyone with more experience than Denzel Aberdeen. So, and obviously, like, the Denzel and Colin point guard minutes have not yielded great returns, but like, I'm kind of just of the belief at this point that you just kind of ride it out with Jasper and see, and just, I mean, even like, one of the names, and not even to give credit to some of these reports, but like, there's a name being floated, the Ryan Forrest kid from wherever, who shot under 40% from the field, playing for a really bad team, and like, but scored a bunch of points, like never passed the ball, whatever. Like, I guess I could say, but like, if Lowe's playing and healthy, like, that guy's still not going to come in and play, and you'd rather just, like, do you want to have Jasper Johnson here next year? Because the way you kick him out the door is you bring in another guy to take his spot to play the 10 minutes a game that he's already barely getting in the first place. So you have to think about that as well. But I mean, I imagine UK's doing their due diligence, researching it, looking at it, all that fun stuff. But at least to me, it would be a bit of a shock if they ended up doing that, or actually bringing somebody in, because I feel like it would be hard to pull that off. Like, I don't know who you would get and how it would actually work. So, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit afraid now to do our last segment, because I'm like afraid that we got cut off because we were showing too much.
It almost had to be because of the video, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, and Steven's not in the stream right now, so I can't ask. I'm not.
Do we want to just maybe talk about, like, we can just talk about whatever we were gonna.
What we were going to talk about was the two Jayden Quaintance cleanup dunks.
Yep.
So they were back-to-back possessions, kind of later in this. Like, I can even look at it. Like, it was around like 5 minutes left in the game, where one of them was, I forget exactly one scenario, but one of the putbacks was, like we were saying, Jaylen Low kicked it to Ortega in the corner, who pump faked, got around his defender, went up for a contested layup, ended up not getting it, but Jayden was right there to grab the rebound and just throw down a dunk. Easy offensive putback, and then it was either offensive possession before or offensive possession after the Quaintance pretty much did the exact same thing. I want to say on a Jaylen Low missed layup, he was driving in. So, like, the idea that we were talking there was that Jaylen Low does things that help create easy buckets for JQ, whether it's directly or indirectly. So we can just kind of, you can ramble on however you want without that brain, and I'll collect my thoughts here and try and figure out where to go next.
The thing that I loved about a couple of those late Jayden Quaintance offensive rebound putbacks, I mean, first of all, what did he have? 5 offensive rebounds total, I think, 4 or 5. But those rebounds for him were like what was happening to Kentucky earlier in the season. When you think back to kind of getting punked on the boards in some of these games, Michigan State, North Carolina at times, certainly Gonzaga, like it was guys being more physical, playing with more urgency, and just being like, hey, you see that loose ball? Like, I want it a little bit more than you want it. I'm going to go after it a little bit harder than you're going to go after it. I'm just more physical and stronger than you are. And I think it was especially the second one where Jaylen Low is driving to the basket and Jaden's kind of cracking down behind him, and he just sort of bullies right through Ejiofor and just ends up with the ball and then just slams it home like he does, because that dude dunks everything.
Yeah.
And it was just fun to be on the other side of that. And I know obviously Jayden didn't play against Indiana, but we have 2 consecutive games now of being really darn good on the offensive glass. Against IU, it was Mo Diabate, being that physical, just, elite effort sort of guy on the offensive glass. Then it was Moreno and JQ largely here against St. John's that really dominated the offensive glass. And I think that can continue to be as we talk about Kentucky establishing an identity going forward, that smash mouth brand of basketball. It starts on the defensive end, but offensive rebounding and being really good inside is part of it too. And it was good to see a second straight game where that occurred. And I think that especially with Jayden Quaintance being in the fold now, I think that offensive rebounding really can be a big part of this, because we've seen Malachi Moreno be good on the offensive glass. Obviously JQ, obviously Mo Diabate. That gives you some guys that are going to get offensive rebounds on a game-to-game basis. And it was nice to see. And it's funny how quickly these things can change. Like we were talking about effort issues and being soft a couple of games ago, and like now all of a sudden we're this.
Well, then you get the 2 strongest, toughest guys back in the lineup, and Mo and Jayden Quaintance.
That's kind of part of what we talked about with all of this stuff. It's like, just let all of our best players play in the games, and all of a sudden things kind of work themselves out. Whether it's toughness and effort, whether it's skill, whether it's point guard play, like when you get all the pieces in place, it genuinely looks pretty good.
And I'm glad you mentioned Malachi, because I want to give him some love. Malachi had 5 offensive rebounds in his 21 minutes, kind of was the guy for the first half of that game, at least, at center. Brandon Garrison, I thought, he played well, like in his spot minutes. Yeah. I thought he did good stuff.
There's no left-handed hook shots anymore, please.
Yeah, 2 of those that were. I did like his one from the baseline. It was kind of like that push shot. That one went in. That was nice. But yeah, he had those 2 like kind of back down. Like when he calls his own number in the post, usually it just doesn't end well. But like, he's really good at like doing the the setting the screens in the middle of the floor and stuff like that, and setting guys up. Do you hear that? Is that loud?
Nope.
Okay, good. They're doing construction all behind me, but yeah, great job.
Now that everything is going,
everything's just going to hell right now. But yeah, 9 rebounds for Malachi. He had 5 offensive. JQ also had 5 offensive rebounds in his limited minutes. So and Malachi starting off the game with a block on Zuby, and then
like first 2 possessions, and then also
Mo had one as well.
Yeah, and
3 blocks in the first 80 seconds.
He scored 6 points to begin the second half before Jaylen Low and Jayden Quaintance came in. Like, that was huge.
And he missed a layup.
Yes. that was huge in starting the momentum of the second half. Like, obviously it really turned when Low and JQ checked in at, like, I think it was 17:07 and 16:07 that those 2 came in. But what kept Kentucky really in the game to begin the second half was 6 early points from Malachi Moreno. So he really does. It's going to get overshadowed, obviously and understandably, because of what Low and JQ did in the second half. But Malachi having 8 points, 9 rebounds, a couple blocks, what he did in this game, it really does deserve to be mentioned. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting starting with that Alabama game to see how Pope monitors those front court minutes, because obviously you want to start JQ sooner than later. I feel like that probably is coming faster than it is with Low, just because his shoulder is going to be so touch and go. So you're probably going to see JQ in the starting lineup sooner than later. And then it'll probably just be like a game-by-game feel with Pope of who he wants to go with in terms of Malachi or BG. I will say BG and JQ played 5 minutes together in the St. John games, and they were +5. So
yeah, it wasn't the worst.
It wasn't the worst. And like you can see, like, Brandon's a decent enough passer that I think you can see like maybe some high-low stuff with them. And BG's a little bit more mobile than Malachi is, so maybe you can see how those 2 can work together. Some other notes I wanted to mention. I thought UK was really good on being alert on backdoor cuts. Really good on that. I don't think they only got beat by 2 backdoor cuts from at least the tracking that I did with my own eyes. But I thought they were really good at just staying alert the whole time. St. John's obviously not a great offensive team, so you can kind of bake that into that as well. Another thing I wanted to mention, though, was, because this was kind of a talking point on social media as the game was happening, I'm interested on your thoughts, is dealing with the St. John's press and how Kentucky didn't really run plays for it. They just threw the ball in. And before I let you say whatever you want to say on how they approach dealing with the press, I will mention that. So I did some tracking data on that as well. On any inbounds pass, on any Kentucky inbounds pass, whether that was a press or half court or whatever, they turned the ball over 3 times and drew 4 fouls, and 2 of those fouls led directly to free throws the other way. So just keep that. I'll let you use that information how you see. But just what do you think about Kentucky's how they handled the press, and is it even worth complicating things and trying to run all these different inbounds plays against the press, or is it just easier to throw it to the guys that are 6'5" and 6'6" and 6'8" and just let them grab the ball and then go?
So it was interesting, and this is a good lesson, even to somebody like me who is very film oriented. Like you know me at this point. Like during the game, I'm usually the let's calm down police, and then afterwards I'll get worked up. I am the exact opposite of Stephen Peake, who freaks out during the game and then like kind of calms himself down afterwards. I'm calm during the game and then freak out afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was a good reminder to myself, even because during the game, I was like, what in the world are we doing against this press? Like it looked like it hadn't even been discussed that St. John's was one of a team that presses as much as anybody in the country, because it was like nobody really knew who was going to take the ball out of bounds. I didn't like how slowly we were taking it out. Like we were always the one to kind of walk, let it roll, throw it to the official, get it back. And I'm like, dude, get that thing out of the net, get it out and get it in before they can start pressing you. And it was like we were intentionally going slow. And then I watched it back and I'm like, we kind of seem to be getting it in just fine. Like it's stressful.
One of those turnovers was like when the game was already, when it was out of reach. It was like 2 minutes left. It was up 12.
Yeah. I tracked the same thing. We only turned it over once against the press.
There you go.
We turned it over once against the press, getting it in.
Yeah.
And
my stat was inbounds in general, all inbounds passes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I noticed too that we actually did have a plan. Now you can say it was the wrong plan, fine, whatever. But I noticed it when we were intentionally not bringing like a forward, like into the backcourt to like kind of inbound it deeper. We were intentionally, very much so, kind of letting St. John's pressure us on the front side and then lobbing it over the top. Like
get some runouts. That happens.
As I was watching
fouls that way.
Yeah, 100%. So as I was watching it on film, I was like, okay, again, we can all sit here and armchair quarterback and say, well, that's a dumb plan. Fine. Like we can argue that, but I 100% take back, and it would be wrong to say that Kentucky did not have a plan for inbounding the ball. And then quite frankly, yes, was I holding my breath on like almost every single one of those little lob passes? 100% I was. And again, if I were coaching the game, I probably would have done it differently. Now, there's probably a very good reason why I'm here hosting a podcast with you and Mark Pope. But I didn't realize that during the game, and it turned out like it was kind of a non-issue. And as you said, like quite frankly, even in totality, 3 turnovers and then 4 times you get fouled and twice you shoot free throws on that. Like that's almost like a trade I would take. Like sure, let's sign up for that right now. So yeah, I wanted to say that I'm glad you brought that up, because quite frankly, I wanted to take back some of my tweets once I went and watched the film. And again, that's a good lesson to all of us, even those of us that have been doing this for a long time, that sometimes your eyes lie to you in real time, and you need to really go back and study things. And that's when you can have some real takeaways.
Well, I think it was a talking point because, like you said, they would float the ball up every time. So every time the ball would get floated up there, every fan is like, kind of hesitating. They're like, oh my gosh, a potential turnover. But then again, like I said, you're throwing it to guys like Cam, 6'8". You're throwing it to Denzel, 6'5". Collins, 6'5". Ortega, 6'4". So and it did feel like it said, it felt like they had a plan. They would have like 2 guys that would kind of like stack each other, and then they would maybe cut a little bit towards the inbounds guy and then cut back. Yeah, and that's where they would usually throw the little lob over. And like you said, like there was a couple of times where they were able to get runouts, or the St. John's guy fouled them because they were out of position. They couldn't get them. They want to prevent like an easy transition spot. And St. John's is one of the more press-oriented teams in the country, with really talented players and taller players too. Like they had one guard that was 6'1", Darling, but everyone else was 6'5" or taller. So you're still you're doing that against a tall team too. So if it worked against St. John's, I would feel pretty confident that's going to work against every other team in the country. Maybe in the NCAA tournament, you scheme a little bit more and maybe run some actual plays or something like that to to just ensure that nothing a guy. One of them, I think Cam maybe Colin fumbled the ball out of bounds a little bit, or maybe it was Jasper actually even fumbled it going out of bounds. So that stuff will happen every now and then. But I thought the trade off of it, like I said, was fine. That's why I wanted to bring it up and just kind of see what your thoughts were on it. Let's see. I got some other. I'm trying to see if I have any other notes in here that I want to talk about before we shut things down.
I got one thing for you, Zach.
Go for it. Go for it.
I was reading the comments here.
Oh, the Mo thing.
Yep. Some people want to. Yeah.
Yes.
So you were at UK today, so give maybe an update.
Yeah.
If you can.
So I did talk to the UK SID and was like, so the Mo Diabate suspension thing was kind of going around, and I didn't exactly get like a firm answer, like yes or no, he's not suspended, but they were kind of like confused at the question, being like, well, it doesn't. They didn't seem like they thought Mo was suspended for a game, and like from all the rules I could read, unless there's like a line B, article A, line C, like fine print that's invisible, it looks like unless you're like fighting a ref, or charging after a coach, or if you get ejected for fighting. Like if you get a straight ejection, I think you get a suspension, but if you get like a double tech like Mo got, where he got 2 techs throughout the course of the game, that's why he was ejected. He wasn't ejected for going after anybody. He was just ejected because in the last tech, it's like, whatever. Like that was with 3 seconds left too. Like where he was just, they shouldn't have dunked it. But then again, if I was Mo, I'm dunking that ball every single time. Like to be perfect, I'm sorry, Brandon, I'm dunking that ball. We're playing St. John's in Atlanta. Like we're just beating the shit. Beating the hell out of him.
Right.
Yeah, like you dunked that ball, and I'm sorry that Zuby or whoever it was got mad. Like that's their fault. Like win the game, play better basketball.
Exactly.
You don't have to deal with that.
So, out in the second half.
So I guess I don't have firm confirmation. Jack probably will tonight on Sources Say. He'll probably be able to give you a better firm idea. But from everything I've learned and have heard, it sounds like he's not suspended. But that is not my official report.
And it's funny that some of the UK people were kind of confused because that was I've coached college basketball. I used to have to pass rules examinations. So like for a random person sitting in their man cave, I probably know the rule book better than I need to at this point still, because I'm a freak and
sicko.
And like when you and Steven in our group chat yesterday brought that up, I was confused too. Like, what do you mean suspended? And then after that, I texted a couple current college head coaches, and they were kind of the same thing of like, no, he's not suspended. Like, what are you even talking about? So I do think that it's one of those things like not anybody's fault, but like we almost kind of like created our own rumor, and then like the people that actually kind of are in charge of it are like, what are you even talking about? But and the other thing too is like, I actually think, not that this matters, we're getting too deep into the weeds, but like,
let's do it.
I think there's a difference actually even between getting 2 technicals and being ejected. Like I think Mo Diabate was disqualified due to getting 2 technicals. Getting ejected is like, you
did something dumb,
throwing a chair across the court. Like I know the end result's the same, but like quite genuinely from a rule book standpoint, I think they are 2 differently defined entities. Like being disqualified from a game via 2 technicals and being thrown out are 2 different terms.
And I think that it probably just got lost in translation in terms of a guy gets ejected. That's what, the first thing you see is a guy gets ejected. So maybe it probably just a slip of the tongue, and then it kind of grew into this whole thing. But like I said, Jack will probably have more confirmation. I mean, and we'll know for sure tomorrow at 1:00 when the game starts. And if Mo Diabate is not there, you'll know why. So one of the last thing I wanted to bring up was Mark Pope was doing a lot of the play calling, I guess is maybe a way to, like, he was moving the chess pieces pretty much the entire last 8 minutes of the game against St. John's. It kind of reminded me of, I want to say, the Duke game last year. I feel like he did a lot of that as well. Obviously, remember the Owe Cooper flag spin move, but I think a lot of that game, and maybe it was the Gonzaga game last year too, where he was like just really like telling guys what to do. Like he was telling Ortega to get in the corner and then have, all right, JQ, now you wait a second. Now you come up and now you set the screen or the ball screen for Low. And then, all right, Low, you go that. Like, he was very much like telling guys what to do. And it obviously worked because they scored 53 points in the second half. So that was another thing I noted. But other than that, I don't think I have too much else other than the two clips that I wanted to show that I'm too afraid to show right now in fear of copyright infringement. But anything else you got?
Last thing I'll say to your final point there was it all comes full circle. It comes back to judging the team when all the pieces are there, and that's true with judging the coach too. Like, if you read KS Board a couple weeks ago, we were ready to fire the guy, and now all of a sudden we're talking about how smart he was in the second half, moving the chess pieces around. It's because he never forgot how to coach. He just didn't have three of his best players, and guess what? Every single one of us has ever coached. You become a lot better coach when you have really good players, and you're a lot worse coach when you don't have very good players. And also, like, what you call all of a sudden works a lot better. Like, you think of the best offensive teams in college basketball. Like, take your Alabamas, take your Dukes, take whoever. Like, they can run ball screens, they can run motion, they can run Princeton. They'd be really good because they have Cameron Boozer. Like, it doesn't matter what offense you put Cameron Boozer in, he's the best at all of them. So it's kind of the same things here. It's like, it's great that he's moving the chess pieces around, but he can move them around a lot more freely when you have Jayden Quaintance and Mo Diabate and Jaylen Low in the game with Ortega Owe and all these other guys. So yeah, the overall theme I think of today's show is, man, is it good to have all these guys back? Is it like, I'm going to spend every game being a little bit scared of, like, is this the last second of getting to watch this? But at least while it's there, I'm going to try to enjoy it, because I think that for the final 20 minutes on Saturday, we proved that it was worth waiting for, and that we can still have a pretty darn good season. What the ceiling is, it's too soon to tell that. I think we'll, as we get into January and we piece more of these halves together, we'll get a better feel for what that is. But right now, based on that 20 minutes, man, I'm excited to find out what it might be, because that would tell you it could still be pretty special.
Yeah. Like we said at the very top of the episode, the ceiling has been readjusted. Where is it? We don't really know yet, but we'll kind of find out as we continue along here. So, Bellarmine tomorrow at 1. It'll be interesting to see what Pope decides to do in terms of playing his guys. Like, I'm sure you don't want to play Jayden 25 minutes. You definitely don't want to play Jaylen Low too much as well. Might be a game where you see a bunch of guys like, let Trent Noah and Brandon Garrison and Jasper Johnson, let those guys get some feel. Maybe have Colin Chandler play a bunch of minutes, see if he can get his hot streak going again. So, and then you'll have like 11 or 12 days off after that before Alabama. So really good timing for the break coming up for Kentucky. So just enjoy it while it's here, because you don't know how long. We just, over the last 5 years, we have no idea how the injuries are going to go. So just don't take it for granted and enjoy whatever, hopefully it lasts until April. But if it doesn't, just enjoy it while it's here, because right now, as the team as it's currently constructed, in that second half is a really, really fun basketball team, and one that can really compete in the SEC. So, fun times right now.
Absolutely.
Brandon, next game you're going to. UK game. Do you know yet?
I would say definitely Saturday, January 10th. I would say I'll be down there.
Okay.
And maybe I might come down for that whole week. I might come to Missouri and Mississippi State. We'll see.
Nice. Missouri, Mississippi State that week. Gotcha. So, it starts with Alabama on the 3rd, and then right into conference play. So, from Zack, from Brandon, and from Steven Peak as well. He's somewhere here. We will catch y'all next time. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us and talking some ball. Appreciate it.